Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before we get this epistle started, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to our beloved Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, our beloved Lord and Savior, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Harakha Kwadash. Double honor as always to our beloved elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule well, who teach well, who we learn the truth from daily, whether you're here for bear. And a sincere salutation as always to the rest of the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, which consists of our sincere elders and Akim of Great Millstone and the Akim on down that teach the likewise doctrine, and all truth and sincerity with diligence, the speckled bird, Hebrews alike, foreigners scattered among the heathen, that look like the heathen, the sincere Akim of the nation of Israel that rehearse the righteous acts of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua in truth and sincerity, and the sincere Akwath that listen in silence and meekness as the scriptures command to do so. And this video right here is going to be touching upon this propaganda that Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, is launching against the 12 tribes of Israel, the true biblical Hebrew Israelites being the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, and as you can see right here on this video, it says Prager, you Trump administration's PBS replacement, because for those who don't know, Donald Trump has been going out of his way to put us in a situation where, Donald Trump has basically been going out of his way to put us in a situation where our people are going to be even further destroyed for a lack of knowledge. You know, with this Prager U is basically indoctrinating children of the 12 tribes, you know, primarily to look at slavery as something that was beneficial to them. And I'm gonna play a little bit of this and get some precepts. I don't want to run edifying and straight to the point.
Columbus, but I heard at school that you spoiled paradise and you brought slavery and murder to peaceful people. Leo, sorry. It's what I read and heard at school.
Caramba! Those are...
I'm sorry, Mr. Columbus, but I heard at school that you spoiled paradise and you brought slavery and murder to peaceful people. Leo, sorry. It's what I read and heard at school.
Caramba! Those are some accusations. The place I discovered was beautiful, but it wasn't exactly a paradise of civilization, and the native people were far from peaceful.
But you just said the Taino were peaceful.
They pretty much are. But there are other tribes who aren't. The Taino I had met had cuts and scars and bruises all over them. I asked why, and they told me about the Caribs, who are vicious, warring cannibals.
Cannibals? Like they
Eat people, see.
Whoa.
Right, so as you can see already, these devils, they're trying to basically paint a narrative that they did the 12 tribes a favor. They're going to try to paint a narrative like they did Jacob a favor by putting them in slavery. You see, and this is the same tired argument that we hear from these pathetic, these Edomites, like the bro Amath, your eyes in the camp, will call them these cave gorillas. You see, it's all fine and dandy when they can commit an atrocity against you, multiple atrocities, steal your land and benefit off of you. But when they live in an environment that they've created that's turning against them, where their own progeny, their own descendants are ashamed of it, because the scriptures speak about how the children will complain of an ungodly father because they'll be reproached for his sake. So it's no longer a badge of honor to talk about how you conquered the so-called Negroes and the so-called natives of the Americas and the Caribbean. But you see right here what they're doing, they're slandering the tribe of Ephraim. Okay, that would be the so-called Puerto Ricans. Before they were the so-called Puerto Ricans, all right, they were the so-called Tainos and Caribs. All right, they were the so-called Carib people. You see, and that region that's called Puerto Rico by Ephraim when they were Tainos, I do believe it was called Borican. So I'm gonna play a little bit more of this.
Right? Hey, all the things that are bad in the world I come from, jealousy, lying, murder, war, it all exists in the land I just found too. But in Europe we draw the line at things like eating people and human sacrifice.
And
some of the
and that right there is why we call these devils what they are according to the Holy Bible. That old serpent called the devil and Satan that the Bible speaks of, the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan, because only a lying piece of shit can project their own habits and their own works upon a completely different group of people to justify destroying them. But when the people, Esau, Edom themselves, are associated with their own works, they want to, they don't want no parts of it. And then when you finally put them into a corner where they can't deny it, what do they do? They try to justify it, and that's what's happening right now. And this is why for brothers, and the few sincere sisters that have children, all right, you have to really pray to Yahweh Shai to protect your children, because in this digital age, your child, especially if they got tablets or whatever, and you give them technology, it's nothing wrong with it inherently. But look, Esau uses everything against the children. And in this time, you have to really pray to Yahweh Shai to protect your children's minds, because this type of mentality is what creates a lot of coons, a lot of sellout jakes. Now, we don't have that much time anyway for anybody to be growing up, because the kingdom is at hand. But the point is, this is the type of stuff that you have to worry about. This is what you got to compete with on a day-to-day basis. While Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, has you distracted with the plantation, with working a 9 to 5, with the hustle and bustle, with chasing the American dream, which is clearly the American nightmare, and it's completely based in delusion. See? But this devil, these Prager U individuals, which I looked into it, is basically most likely what Trump's going to use to try to replace PBS, because Donald Trump is also going about trying to rewrite history as far as the Smithsonian goes. So for those idiot jakes, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you dumb niggas that voted for Trump, nigga, you deserve exactly what judgment the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai got in store for you, unless you one of his elect that he's going to make repent. Because everything that the average racist white person wants to do, Donald Trump is doing in a way that's not even that subtle. All right. Oftentimes we got to hear about how these crackers, these devils, these pathetic pale pieces of shit they don't want their children to find out about slavery, and they don't want them to hear blah 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 blah. But that just goes to show you how much of a devil they are. They don't have any righteousness. These are the same people that want you to believe that they're Bible thumping people. But when the Bible gets into judgment, all right, the Lord deals with a just balance. It's a false balance with the Lord for somebody who committed iniquity to not face any type of judgment, any type of repercussion. But that's how they get down. So let me get this precept real quick. I talked enough. Psalm 64 verse 1, and the subheading says, prayer for deliverance from secret enemies. So the chief musician, a psalm of David. Hear my voice, O Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Right. And when you understand just how much power Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, has been given, that's the spirit to be in. What King David is saying right here in the first verse, that's the spirit you have to be in. It's not about being weak and being a sellout like 2/3 of our people. It's about acknowledging that Yahweh Bashmi Shai has given him power on the left-hand side. He's given Esau power on the left-hand side, which is why he's also called the sword of the Lord. Okay, so you have to pray to Yahweh Bashmi Shai and ask for protection, because he's given Esau, he's basically maxed out Esau's stats when it comes to physical weaponry and everything you can possibly think of on a carnal level. So that's why we have to combat that with the spirit, so we can just be protected and wait upon the Lord until he rises up to the prey. Psalms 64 verse 2, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. And that's Esau, Edom. And the scripture says the secret counsel of the wicked. That goes into these different programs they use to what? To basically mentally sodomize your children, to make them not think anything of themselves on a subconscious level, even if they don't come out right with a bunch of gangster rap and sexy red and stuff like that. Esau is a devil. He's the devil. He has a number of ways to destroy. That's why he's called the son of perdition. Okay, perdition would be the opposite of paradise. So you can put 2 and 2 together with that. Psalm 64 verse 2, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. You see, and that wet goes into sharpen, all right, just like you sharpen a sword. So that means they're preparing weapons to destroy you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans every single day. Verse 4, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect, Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not, right? Because the perfect is talking about the Israelites. And the way Yahweh Shah has always operated, if you defy his people, if you put your hands on them, or if you mean them harm or work harm against them, that's basically you showing you have no fear of Yahweh Shah. You have no fear of the testimonies and the accounts where he's delivered us out of the hand of the heathen who sought us harm. And that's what Esau does. He's the wicked that the Bible speaks of. He does not have any fear for Yahweh Shah. All right, and it's not because he's oh so mighty. It's because he's puffed up and stupid. But we still have to be circumspect and hide within the shadow of Yahweh Shah. Verse 5, they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? You see? So this is what they're doing, laying a snare. That's talking about a trap. They lay private traps. They don't, every single trap they have is not going to always be the obvious ones. All right, the obvious traps would be, sundown towns and certain little places you can't go because Edomites are still on that what do you call that, Jim Crow era racism. But then they also have the private traps that they lay by pretending to be your friend and everything else, and putting so-called harmless TV shows up. This is why you got to be spiritually discerned through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shah to know that no matter how sweet the words are, you have to read the spirit. You have to really listen to what's being said. They may not be using a single cuss word in this little animation, but what they're doing is they're sodomizing you in a very subtle way. That's why the nation of Esau, Edom, is called the serpent. I'm gonna read more. Psalms chapter 64 verse 60. Psalms chapter 64 verse 6. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. You see? So this is what they do. They search out iniquity. All right. They accomplish a diligent search, meaning they look at they research diligently with different ways to commit wickedness, to commit pain and death and just destruction, whether it be a spiritual level, a mental level, or a physical level. This is who you're dealing with. All right. Verse 7, but Yahweh Shah shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. Okay? And that's talking about the ICBM missiles ultimately. So this is a telltale sign that this place has to go. So while 2/3 of our people are sitting there kissing Esau's ass, trying to save them, when we preach the gospel from the holy scriptures, the word of Yahweh Shah, all right, which that's the word Yahweh Shah is what justifies our people, not no fucking devil that's sitting right here lying about his history. Instead of just owning up to it, what is he doing? He's owning up to it in a way, but he's at the same token, he's trying to justify it to trying to cushion the blow, to try to take some of the blame off him, knowing that 2/3 of our people are weak and watered down by him. Let me jump back to
folks from where I just left do those things regularly. In Europe, we draw the line at things like eating people and human sacrifice. Some of the native folks from where
these niggas are literally known, these Edomite pieces of shit that took over Europe from Jake and Japheth. They are literally known for eating raw meat, even to this day. So these are the type of things that when you're in the spirit, it pisses you the fuck off because you know that they're just lying. While, that we already know Yahweh Shah justifies us, but this is part of having that zeal and that indignation, that righteous anger towards these devils, because everything they say is a damn lie. Even while their society is collapsing, they're still trying to destroy you jakes. Our elders and apostles of Great Millstone say this on many different occasions. It's not a platitude. It's true. Even while their society is collapsing, even while their economy is shit, even while the nuclear family has been destroyed by their own stupid policies, even while their women want to have sex with Jake, even while they're losing face and they're losing clout on a national level, on a global scale, they still want to come at you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. Why is that? It's not because you're slaves like they try to tell you that you are. No, it's deeper than that. It's because they know that you're the chosen people. They know that the Lord loves Jacob and he hates Esau. And they manifest that by the way they move. Like Jake, even in the world, Jake would be like, all right, if another Jake is doing something, you'd be like, man, this dude he's a top tier hater. Esau Edom, he's the epitome of a hater. He's a sore loser. He's a 2-time loser. Everything he does just shows that he's a hater in the worst way.
just left do those things regularly. So, these people in your time who think it was a peaceful paradise are misinformed. Or lying.
Yeah, but what about slavery? You didn't deny that.
Exactly, and that's the point. You see, now these pieces of shit are trying to use Christopher Columbus, and this is why brothers in the truth, we don't give a shit about this devil. You know, Lord willing, I don't want to rock to Zah. I'm of the elect. I would definitely like to put my foot in his ass in the kingdom. But the point is, those of us that are in the truth, we know that Christopher Columbus is a piece of shit. And because even in schools, for brothers who remember growing up in elementary, when we learned about him, it's like, all right, everything's not going to stick because we were children at the time. Okay. And also, once again, this is why having the truth and having the spirit matters, because when somebody just reads something to you, it can be read exactly the way it is, but without the spirit, you won't keep the narrative. Right? The narrative remains, vague to you. You just think, okay, Christopher Columbus did this and that. He discovered America, and they'll leave it at that sometimes. Sometimes they might go a little deeper. All right, and they may tell you what he did as far as the conquest and stuff, the colonialism. But the way they word it, it basically is designed to make your brain, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically make your brain skate past those small details where you won't stop and really start to scrutinize and analyze why he did what he did, and how it's just basically glorified rape, robbery, and murder. All right, this is the same piece of shit. They're animating this same devil that literally gave diseases to the northern kingdom tribes that he encountered. When he met Gad, the so-called North American Indians, he said, these are nice people, they're kind people, we can enslave them. This is what he said to his benefactors when he got back to Spain or wherever the fuck he came from. Sometimes I forget. I think he came from Spain, because people try to say he came from Italy or something like that, but I believe it was Spain. But the point is, this is the type of time he was on. And now in these last days, Yahweh Bashmiel Shai is putting the spirit on Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, to show you Jakes, you niggas that voted for him, and you sticks that voted for him. He's putting the spirit on you to show, so like putting the spirit on Esau, Edom, to show you that he never changed. All right, the only thing that was keeping Esau, Edom in check somewhat was resources. And that goes to show you how wicked he is, because our people, the Lord, he's designed us to, whether we have money or whether we don't, especially those of us in the spirit, we're supposed to be an upright people. Us being upright isn't determined by the money that we have. That's why after all the atrocities that's happened to us, Jake still wants to what? When Jake gets a little bit of money, when Jake has the illusion of having money, what do they want to do? They want to chill. Like brother said yesterday, Jake just want to buy houses, get women, do this, do that. Esau gets money and he wants to mentally destroy your children with bullshit like this. He wants to poison your children with messed up food. He wants to force the women to give birth in ways that aren't according to our customs, and then basically complicate childbirth. He wants to feminize the men so he can do whatever he wants to do with our children. And this is why it was important. This is why the Lord commanded us to teach our children the law. And this is what happens when Jake disobeys the Lord. Now you got a devil trying to tell you to your face that your oppression was necessary, and trying to downplay it. And this is why the Lord is going to give his elect men spiritual power to beat the shit out of these devils, because this is just complete. It's just off.
So, these people in your time who think it was a peaceful paradise are misinformed. Or lying.
Yeah, but what about slavery? You didn't deny that.
Deny? No. Slavery is as old as time and has taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? I don't see the problem.
Well, and
You see? He doesn't see the problem, and that's what you Jakes need to realize. That's the imprinted, ingrained mentality of an Edomite. No matter what their skin color is, that's how Edomites are designed. They don't see a problem with enslaving or oppressing anybody so long as it's not them. They're not designed to be a just and righteous people. So what they're trying to use with this propaganda is to get children on a subconscious level to believe this devil, because he's saying it in a soft voice with animation and colors and shit that children like. But ultimately, those of us that are the household of faith, We know that Esau Edom is going into slavery, bro. He's desperate at this point. Because now all of a sudden, you know, Yahweh Bashmel Shai, he's raised up his prophets and his gospel spread throughout the four corners of the earth. Now this devil has to, you know, he's basically swinging for the fences. He's throwing the whole kitchen sink at trying to debunk the truth because, you know, since when has Esau had shows getting more in depth about the exact different Native American tribes or the indigenous tribes that they met over here and colonized? Now he's mentioning the Taínos, that's the tribe of Ephraim. Mentioning the Carib people. Okay, they get more in details about this. Why? Because they've been pricked in the spirit through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Shai. All right, and the word that he's preaching through his prophets, starting with our elder apostles of Great Millstone and the elder bishops and elders and brothers on down, and those that teach the likewise doctrine. The same way the Plantation Christian Church had to step their game up and start to actually study words, even though they're not going to get the truth. It's the same way Esau Edom, he has to mention a little bit of the truth and then spin it with the lie, just like a devil does. So read, keep playing this.
Our time, we view slavery as being evil and terrible.
Ah, magnifico. That's wonderful. I am glad humanity has reached such a time. But you said you're from 500 years in the future? How can you come here to the 15th century and judge me by your standards from the 21st century?
And that's how this devil moves. He thinks nobody can judge him. But that's the beautiful thing about the scriptures. I'm going to go ahead and get that, one of my favorites. The book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 1, and it reads, "This is the book of the commandments of the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die." So unlike these stupid Edomites and the rest of these heathen, and 2/3 of our own people that are just dummies, the laws of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, they're never out of season. They're never out of the correct era. Now, we can't enact every single judgment written in the law in these last days, but that doesn't mean the law isn't correct. Because those of us who have the spirit, those of us who have actual wisdom, the true wisdom, we know that when the laws get implemented, all this madness won't happen. Everybody would already have the true understanding of how slavery is. Yeah, it's old as time, you know, it's one of the oldest professions, so forth and so on. But we say that in truth. This devil is trying to say that now without the proper context to mentally sodomize children. All right, it's important to understand that, look, there's an order to slavery. Esau Edom is not being condemned by Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai through the mouth of his prophets for enslaving us per se. He's more so being condemned because of his wickedness and the fact that he's a fucking demon. He didn't keep the order of slavery. He wasn't he had our Bible in his hand. He prevented us from reading. All right, he broke up families. He was committing adultery and homosexuality against the men of our people. You know, that buck breaking he would do when he would basically sodomize an Israelite man in front of his wife and in front of the whole village in certain instances to basically take his manhood in front of everybody so he would permanently lose his reputation. Okay, if a Jake married a Israelite woman, if an Israelite man married an Israelite woman, Esau would basically, quote unquote, consummate the marriage on his wedding night. Meaning he would lay with that Israelite man's wife and talking about it's consummated now. That's adultery, and that's the shit these devils got to pay for. They didn't just put us in slavery, and that's another thing that you Jakes got to teach your children. All right, because Esau will use that lie of indentured servitude. No, nigga, indentured servitude is not the same as chattel slavery. Indentured servitude is what Israelites were doing with other Israelites for the most part. That's in our law when you get Exodus the 21st chapter. Esau wasn't doing that while he had our Bible. That's why he gave our people, all right, primarily, you know, the Southern Kingdom, the so-called Negroes, West Indians, and Haitians, the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. He gave us the slave Bible of 1807, where it had 90% of the Old Testament omitted, purposely taken out, and 50% of the New Testament, nearly 50% of the New Testament taken out, but only left the precepts, vague precepts about slavery without the understanding. You see, that's the type of devil that we're dealing with. So yeah, of course he would put that little excerpt in there where Christopher Columbus is telling this fake Christopher Columbus is telling these children, how could you come back in this and that time and judge me and you're coming from 500 years? Man, look, nigga, wicked is wicked. And that thought process right there is exactly why these damn devils are going into slavery. There's no two ways about it. I'm gonna get a little bit more of this and then I'll close.
For those in the future to look back and do this is, well, estúpido.
I don't think Christopher Columbus was a villain. And maybe he wasn't a hero, but he sure did some heroic things that are definitely worth celebrating. And a lot of the things
You see, and that's the dumb mentality that our kids have, and that even grown adults amongst our people have, without the understanding. No, he's just a fucking devil. Just keep it short, sweet, and to the point. The Lord says, let your communication be yay, yay, or nay, nay. The Lord doesn't deal with gray areas. Christopher Columbus, Cristobal Colon, was a damn demon and a piece of shit, and the Lord is going to put his ass into slavery upon his return. When Yahweh Shai returns and cracks those skies and he ushers in the kingdom of heaven, whoever Cristobal Colon gets reincarnated as, that nigga is going into slavery. Whoever he is right now, if he ain't already here, by the time the missiles come, when the missiles come, he's going to be eating a missile. If he's here in America, Babylon the Great. And then even after that, he's going his ass into slavery.
judge him for now were just normal in his time.
This one was a much harder watch just because of the blatant attempts to like explain away or to justify genocide and the harms committed against indigenous peoples. Like it just is, it's offensive. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, and the important part about this is that the Lord Yahweh Bashmel Shai, he doesn't miss. So even something that's disgusting and offensive like this, you know, it's vexing to us. But the balance of it is the Lord is doing this, like I said earlier, through the Spirit. He's doing this to basically put that old, true Edomite spirit on blast. Because apparently 2/3 of our people, you don't hear when we, the prophets, tell you who he is. You accuse us of hate speech. 1 minute you complaining about the Edomite nigga. All right, this pale devil you got to work with at your plantation job, or some pale devil that you met in the store that was being racist, or some pale devil at the gas station that was basically using the N-word a little too loosely. But when we tell you who he actually is and that he's not actually white, that white is a title he placed on himself so he can put more witchcraft on you, because when you hear white means purity, it means innocence. That's true. But he doesn't embody those things. He puts that label on himself so you never hold him to task for his bullshit. Not to say you can take him to a physical court and judge him and arrest him. Nah, because Jake does that dumb shit. Jake thinks every time you catch a so-called white person saying nigga, it's a payday. No, it's not about that. It's about you getting right with your Yahweh Bashmel Shai and letting the Lord judge these niggas. These pale niggas that are the original nigga, if you get the history. All right, Cain lost his pigment for being a nigga, essentially. That's what that mark of Cain was. It was leprosy. And when Cain died, that spirit, it reincarnated many generations later as Esau. And that time he came out the womb with no pigment. And that's a telltale sign for the, you know, in most instances of an Edomite. That pale skin, but most of all, that wicked ass, prideful, am I my brother's keeper? That type spirit. So for those of you to try to push the whole, well, Jacob and Esau are brothers. Well, yeah, nigga. And if you read the story, if you had spiritual discernment, which you don't, you would understand why the Lord did that. Because Yahweh Bashmel Shai, he put stumbling blocks in the scriptures to keep you undesirable niggas out. You riffraff niggas that keep putting your hands on the Bible, those stumbling blocks are there to put you out. But observing through the Spirit, the Lord is showing that, look, it's not about who's born of the flesh, even if you have the same father and mother. It's about who's born of the Spirit. That's why it says 2 manner of people was in Rebekah's womb, and 2 manner of people were separated from her bowels. Jacob and Esau were flesh and blood brothers in that incarnation, but that's where that ends. They're not spiritually the same. Jacob is upright, Esau is wicked, naturally. All right? That's why it's nothing for him to slander his brother. So why you niggas trying to waste your time saving Esau? He never saw you as a brother. And you're stupid for trying to make him. But the whole point of this is making sure that we teach our children, you know, what it really is. So I'm going to go ahead and get that real quick. You know, this is for brothers that have children anyway. I'm going to go ahead and get this last precept and I'll close. Sirach, better known as Ecclesiastes, chapter 30, verse 3. And it reads, he that teaches his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. And that's why Esau got Jake out the household, bro. You have to put these things in perspective. Yeah, that's why he jacked up the nigga woman. That's why he jacked up these Marias. That's why he jacked up these Pocahontases. That's why he did these things. All right. Because yeah, we talk about how he got the southern kingdom, Israelite man out the house, the so-called Negroes, West Indians, and Haitians, all right, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. But there's also northern kingdom brothers that got to suffer this bullshit. You got northern kingdom jakes that want to be around their kids and they can't because Eve is a demon from all 12 tribes. See? And Esau's to blame for that because he put these situations in on the table. All right? Section 8 where she can get money for kicking a man out the house. If she found with a man in the house, she gets no benefits. All right, Title 4D child support, which is illegal, like the other Malcolm got into. It's illegal to put an American citizen under a foreign treaty or have us basically operate from basically within laws that's part of a foreign type of situation, to say the least, for lack of a better term, because Title D child support, it comes out of The Hague, which is in Switzerland. That has nothing to do with America. But once again, the Edomites do whatever the hell they want to do. They're liars. They're devils. Devil means deceiver. So you'd be crazy to teach your children like these pieces of shit, these moles, these weirdos, these people that lay with dogs are actually somebody's founding father. Sirach, better known as Ecclesiasticus chapter 30 verse 3, he that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Esau's job is to basically destroy your people. If he can't beat you in a war, he's going to mentally destroy you so you won't be mentally equipped to fight, whether it be physically or spiritually. So when you teach your son the ways of Yahweh Shema Shah, like you're commanded to do, you grieve the enemy. Your son becomes able to maneuver in any situation he's in without being, he knows how to be subtle, he knows how to be low key, and he knows how to be strong. And keep that faith and fear of Yahweh Shema Shah above all things. And that leads him into all wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Verse 4, though his father die, yet he is as though he were not dead. Why is that? For he hath left one behind him that is like himself. You see? And that's what it's talking about when you read the scriptures and it said, and Adam begat a son in his own likeness and in his own image, and he called his name Seth. All right, now Seth, whether Seth physically looked like Adam or not, who knows? But the point of that precept is he was like Adam spiritually, unlike Cain. All right, Seth was righteous. So in this precept, it's talking about how when you if you're a righteous man and you raise your son in Yahweh Shema Shah, and he's righteous too, when you actually nurture that spirit, okay, you leave one behind just like yourself. So if you had a good report, your son's gonna have a good report. Even if you pass away, people are gonna be like, damn, he's just not, not damn, but they'll say he's just like his father in righteousness. And Esau don't want that. He wants to put Jake to death and watch your family fall apart. He wants Israelite men to get put to death and your sons or nephews are left in disarray and they become effeminate. They want to put to death the prophets. They want to put to death men like your Isaiahs, your Jeremiahs, men like that, your Apostle Peters. They want to put men like that to death and then leave a bunch of weird ass fruity boy niggas like what is that nigga, Uzi Vert, or it's hard to name these niggas, man. They just unimportant, but you get the gist of what's being said. That's what Esau gets off on. It's not enough for him to just kill you. He wants to see your household desolate. And our forefathers understood how important it was to have a household that's in order. Because even if you die, come on, man, we come from a warfaring people. Yeah, the Lord protected us in every battle that we called upon him for if we were in order. But let's just say the Lord wanted to put a certain Jake to death. That household would be without the man. But it would still be intact if the household was ordered right. Esau, he's like, nah, I want everything messed up. I don't want you to have no hope of regeneration. And that's the level of hatred that he has for you. Sirach, better known as Ecclesiasticus chapter 30 verse 5. While he lived, he saw and rejoiced in him. And when he died, he was not sorrowful. And that's the type of peace that Esau wants to rob from us as Israelite men. That's what you Jakes got to understand. He hates you so much. He wants you to die stressed out, worrying about bills, this and that, and have no hope of happiness. Because certain Jakes go through all that shit just to see their sons do better than them, and then they can pass away to the spirit world in peace. Esau wants to rob you of that. He wants your sons to grow up effeminate, hating their own people, cursing their own people. Oh, we deserve this, we deserve that. Now, when we say we deserve slavery, we talk about because of what Jake actually did against the Lord. Esau wasn't worrying about that. Esau was looking for any old excuse to beat Jake. Whether Jake was doing righteous or wicked, Esau wants to destroy you. So the two ain't the same. Sirach to 30 verse 6. He left behind him an avenger against his enemies, and one that shall requite kindness to his friends. You see, Esau don't want you to be left behind an avenger against him. He don't want to ever pay for the shit that he did. He wants to have the comfort of knowing that he got you out the way. You know, a righteous man of Yahweh Bashmel Shai, and he has no recompense. But no, the Lord's not doing that this time. He's going to preserve his prophets. Those that get martyred, that's one thing. But even within that, they'll be raised up first. And also, Esau doesn't want you to have one behind that requites kindness to your friends. He wants your children, once again, this goes back to destroying your children. He wants them to be a bunch of self-hating coons and sissies and broke-back simps that hate their own people and justify and love their enemy. He wants you to be backwards. In our law, all right, Yahweh Bashmel Shah said this all throughout the entirety of the Bible, Old Testament, Apocrypha, and New Testament, explaining what love thy neighbor as thyself is. That's talking about a fellow Israelite. So Israel is supposed to be first priority, especially those that are in the truth, fearing Yahweh Bashmel Shah in word and in deed. A heathen is not supposed to be priority over a brother. That's backwards as fuck. So that's what this precept in verse 6 goes into. I'm going to read it one more time and I'm going to close. Sirach, but on Ecclesiasticus chapter 30, verse 6. He left behind him an avenger against his enemies, and one that shall requite kindness to his friends. You see? And that's what the men of Israel did, man. We had order. We had structure. All right? That's why it was also important. That's why a large part of our culture is having witnesses. All right? So righteous witnesses, so judgment doesn't get perverted. So if somebody had a report of being a righteous man, you would know, and you would handle him accordingly. If a motherfucker was wicked, you would know that, and you would do accordingly. That's why it's important to know history and to know how Esau really gets down. Even amongst those that are not of our people, it's important to have a report of who individuals are. That's why the Lord gave us these scriptures. That's why, even though Israel is the focus, that's why the Lord gave us accounts of the Edomites, of the Moabites, of the Ammonites, of the Hamites, of the Ishmaelites. So we know how to maneuver in these situations. So we know not to be an idiot and congratulating these people or doing all types of folly where you basically looking out for a complete devil or an enemy that's going to put their knife in your back when your own people are suffering. But that's all I have in this epistle, man. Just getting into this topic of how these devils are continuously trying to sodomize our people. So once again, you got to pray to Yahweh Bashman and try to protect your children, man. We in this digital age. All right, they can easily pop on a tablet, and it won't even be their fault. They can put this on a tablet one day, and it pops up in their suggestions. They click on it, and they watching it, and they don't tell you that they watched it. Next thing you know, you wonder why your child tripping out and hating themselves. All right, and then this would be why. So you gotta really pray to Yahweh Bashman Shai, get rooted in the spirit, and you gotta lead your house and set your house in order, bro. You gotta pour the spirit into your children as best you can. But that's all I have in this epistle. Once again, we give all praise, honor, glory to our beloved Heavenly Father, and to the begotten Son, our beloved Lord and Savior, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Harakak Wadash. Double honor as always to our beloved elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule well, who teach well, who we learn the truth from daily, whether you hear forbearance, sincere salutation as always to the rest of the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, which consists of our sincere elders and Akim of Great Millstone, and the Akim on down that teach the likewise doctrine, and all truth and sincerity with diligence. The speckled bird Hebrews, the like foreigners scattered among the heathen, that look like the heathen, the sincere Akim of the nation of Israel, that rehearse the righteous acts of Yahweh Bashmel Shah in truth and sincerity, and the sincere Akwath, that listen in silence and meekness, as the scriptures command to do so. Kwame Sharala and the Baba Ball. We're almost out of here. Ottawa and Ratazah. We got next Ottawa and Ratazah. Shema, Yasha Allah, Yahweh, Allahayanawa, Yahweh, Achad, wa Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Harchak Wadash, Baba Kusha, Baba Kusha, Baba Kushash, Allah Chrayam, wa Ainashim, wa Haragim, wa Ashim, wa Abadim, wa Mawatim, wa Mashapayim, Al Kal Adawamim, wa Gawayim, wa Ayabim Nawa, wa Babal, wa Babal, wa Babal, wa Babal. I tha, the water, Tamya, Tawab, Aman. Shalom.